This is Paw Print, an animal rescue community, episode 102. I'm Harold Ree, and today's guest is Ellen Westkaemper with Bald is Beautiful Dog Rescue.
Our Facebook page went 4,500 followers to over 20,000 within about a month. Our store sales doubled. Our network of support just grew.
In case you're wondering where Nancy is, well, she's not here because I'm in beautiful Carborough, North Carolina, in the Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill sort of research triangle, visiting my brother, his wonderful family, and a cousin who happens to be visiting from outside the country. So we hung out today, got to have some great Mexican food. If you're in the Carborough area, I highly recommend Car Burritos. Great burritos, and I am surviving right now. I am basically recovering from their wonderful smoked chipotle salsa, which has an extra kick to it. So I'm recording this while hoping that I will live the night. Ellen Westkaemper has been with Bald is Beautiful almost from the beginning. She shares some wonderful stories about this great rescue focused on hairless dogs. She'll even share about Dancing Nathan, a wonderful hairless dog that has gone viral the past few years. If you'd like to learn more about Ellen Westkaemper and Bald is Beautiful, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/102. That's the number 102.
Like every other breed-specific rescue, I'm sure it started with people who are really passionate about that breed. And I actually joined about 2 months in. So I just coincidentally started getting interested and joined the rescue about 2 months after they started. But it was just a group of people who loved hairless dogs and wanted to be able to step in and help them when they were in need, and also match them with homes that sort of knew what they were in for when they adopted a hairless dog.
Now, with that said, any kind of neat advantages to hairless dog breeds?
Well, of course, for a lot of people with allergies, they find they do very well with them. And as we know, there really is no such thing as a hypoallergenic dog, but a lot of times people with allergies do better with hairless dogs. They don't shed, which is awesome. And although some people feel that they have a lot of grooming challenges, I actually think it's kind of easy because you just kind of wash them and buff them dry. So you usually don't have a lot of hair dryers unless you have the powder puff version of the Chinese Crested.
And in general, they tend to be smaller dogs,
They are. Yeah, mine is actually a good sized dog. He's 17, 18 pounds, which is big for that breed. And we've seen the Chinese Crested as big as even 25 pounds, but most of them are in that 10 to 15 pound range. Right. And then the Mexican hairless, the Xolo, comes in much larger sizes. They can be up to 60, 70 pounds.
Could you say the full name of the Xoloitzcuintli? Is that
yeah,
right?
I think it's Xoloitzcuintli.
Okay.
And so we don't say it very often. We usually just say Xolo.
Yeah, when I saw the name, my brain exploded bastically. Because,
I know.
Yeah,
it's a lot of letters.
Yeah, I want to see that name on Jeopardy one of these days. So.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Or on Family Feud. That would be cruel.
Right. If people wanted to get in contact with you, I mean, how many dogs do you tend to have in foster care for adoption?
Yeah, it really does range. Right now, in our whole organization, we have just under 30 dogs. A couple of them are sanctuary dogs that are not available for adoption because they have either such health issues or behavioral issues that they're not candidates for adoption. Right now, our website, we only have, I think, about 7 or 8 available for adoption, but we have a bunch that have just been moved into foster homes and are about to be listed. So it's always changing. The most we've ever had is about 40 at one time.
Wow. I mean, 40. I mean, even 7 or 8 sounds impressive to me.
Yeah.
You're in beautiful Greenville, South Carolina.
Yes.
How do you actually find these dogs?
Well, we are based in Greenville, but really as an organization, we're a network of foster homes, and we range all the way from contacts in Florida and Georgia all the way up into actually Maine. And so the first thing is, even though we have a home base and an intake facility in Greenville, sometimes dogs come to us through a lot of different ways. And then we have an intake coordinator. Her name is Janet. She's awesome, and she will either reach out and contact shelters. People are always forwarding us leads. breeds. I think that's one of the advantages of being a specialty, a breed-specific rescue, is that people will reach out to you and say, hey, I saw this dog on my local shelter's website. Or, for example, when there's a hoarder or a breeder bust, which we all know happens, we usually hear about it very quickly if it's a group that involves Chinese Crested or any other hairless dogs.
It sounds like a bit of work.
It is. It is. We have a great team, though. We have a huge, very dedicated team. And to be honest, we really, we operate in a lot of ways like a business where everyone works with regular jobs. We're all professionals, but we dedicate a lot of time to it. And we have a lot of talent on our team. We have a graphic designer who fosters for us. Is a beautiful photographer. We have an accountant. We have a lawyer on our team. We have a groomer involved with our rescue. So we have great resources on our side.
Are there any common sort of Facebook groups for hairless dog breeds? I mean, I'm sure that there must be a nice connection and bond that gets created amongst the various owners.
There really is. And I think because everybody who is passionate about a particular breed, I think they tend to find each other. So yeah, there's affinity groups, and our social media presence is really strong. And I think we're all, these dogs, a lot of the hairless dogs are very quirky. They look different. They have quirky personalities, and not everybody gets it, So those of us who love them are really excited to share with other people who feel the same way. And so, yeah, there's a lot of that. We get together a lot. We have big gatherings where, you'll be at a place and there'll be, I've seen 60, 70, 100 hairless dogs running around. And it's a blast. Any
sort of special needs that a hairless dog requires?
Yeah, the two big issues that they have that are a little different from other dogs. Of course, you'll see skin issues, and then their teeth. So the teeth, the gene that causes hairlessness is also connected to just sort of bad teeth. And so it's why so often when you see these older ones, their tongues are hanging out. My dog, Owen, the first time I took him to the vet, she looked in his mouth and said, what happened to his teeth? And I said, well, that's how he is. And she said, there's teeth that should have been there that weren't. It's just a very odd configuration. And that's sort of par for the course. And
right.
So you just have to know that you've got to keep an eye on them. I don't think they're any more likely to need a dental than other dogs, but I do think that because they are more likely to be born with a smaller or not normal set of teeth, you'll start to see those things show up as they get older. And then the skin is just an ongoing challenge. I think that I'm not sure. I'm convinced that they have more skin issues than other dogs. I think it's just that we see it, because they don't have the hair to cover it up. But that said, a lot of it is cosmetic. It's acne, just like people. They'll get pimples, they'll get blackheads. Sometimes people are really freaked out about the skin when really it's not that big of a deal. It's just acne. But the other thing is, it is just, every dog is different. It's just like people. Some of them respond really well to being bathed frequently. Other ones, you cannot bathe them too frequently or you'll have problems. So the challenge ends up being when people ask about problems, we have to tell them it's a lot of trial and error. You just have to kind of figure out your dog. And if you try something and they break out, don't use it again.
Now, when I interview greyhound owners, they say greyhounds are a little bit like potato chips. You can't have you have to have more than just one.
Yes.
How is it with hairless dog breeds?
Literally the same thing. And they say the same thing. And we have a lot of people who have greyhounds that also have Chinese Cresteds. There's a big overlap also with Italian greyhound, the Iggies. A lot of people find their personalities, I guess, are similar. But we do have many people in our group who own greyhounds as well as Chinese Cresteds.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. When you see these, or when I see these ugly dog contests, a lot of time a Chinese Crested dog will end up being the winner or definitely highlighted. How do owners feel about the quote-unquote ugly dog contest?
Yeah, we call it the U word. We don't say that word, but I think everybody some people get really upset about it and some people take great offense to it. I think it's celebrating. I mean, part of the fact that draws us to these dogs, I'll tell you, if we put a picture of a dog on our Facebook page and its tongue is hanging out, it gets way more attention, way more likes, way more shares, way more comments, way more applications. So those of us who love the dogs, that's a good thing. We love it. People will often say to me about one of my foster dogs, they're so ugly, they're cute. And I kind of like, just skip the ugly part and go right to cute. That'd be nice. And then my dog is actually quite handsome. And so usually what people will say about him is, oh, he's not ugly. And so I think that's kind of funny. It is what it is. I think that I can tell the people who own those dogs love those dogs. And a lot of times the reason they look like they do is because they were badly bred. They have genetic issues. They're often special needs dogs. So I applaud their owners for taking on the challenges of a special needs dog and loving them for all their quirks.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, turning to you, talk to us about the dogs in your life, any animals that have really made an impact on you.
Well, it's interesting. My first dog was a dog named Dexter, who I adopted just about 8 years ago. So I did not grow up around dogs. I have always loved animals, and if I was at someone's house who had a dog, that's usually where I was. But I really waited until much later in life before getting my first dog. So Dexter was my first dog. He's a Shih Tzu Poodle mix. I actually had him DNA tested to find out because he looks like a little monkey. He kind of looks like a big Affenpinscher. And he was a particular... I didn't know what I thought getting a dog was going to be like, but I think I had that sort of romanticized version of taking the dog with me everywhere and running errands and going hiking and doing all these things. And, a month after I got him, he ended up being having a little bit of a freak out and needing to go into some pretty serious training. And we did great together, but to have that be my first dog to also have those kinds of challenges, I was a little bit thrown by that. So we worked together to do something called biofeedback training, the relaxation protocol, and that worked really well with him in combination with a little medical help, drug help to just sort of take the edge off. And then within probably about 6 months, we kind of hit the point where I said, okay, he's going to be okay. And so Dexter took a lot of time and energy and commitment to deal with his training issues, but he's come very far. And then I've had cats as well. I have a couple cats, Liz and Lalo. And then at one point I was in between jobs and I had some downtime and I knew I wasn't going to start working. And I thought, I've been thinking about fostering dogs. And I kind of think these Chinese Crested dogs are kind of interesting. So I just started looking to see what was out there and ended up coming across a rescue that just happened to be here in Greenville, Bald is Beautiful. And so that's in the fall of 2010. That's when I started fostering, and I've been involved ever since.
What an amazing coincidence.
Yeah, especially when I contacted the woman who was here in Greenville. Everybody else was up in Ohio and Pennsylvania, and I think she probably secretly did a little dance at the time about finally somebody down here. And it's taken these 6 years for us to grow our network, to be spread out in a way that we can be more effective. And it started with each individual person that jumped on board.
Okay. Just rewinding just a little bit, can you tell us a little bit more about biofeedback? I mean, what exactly is involved? I'm sure some of our listeners are going to be like, that sounds like something that I may need to look into.
Yeah. Is that something that you're familiar with at all?
No, not at all.
For dogs? Okay. So you can Google and find the relaxation protocol if you want. And there's some videos and audio clips you can listen to help. But basically, so Dexter's issues were kind of along the lines of just high anxiety, and he was very reactive. And so he was not able to sort of calm down and learn anything. And so what we did with this protocol was start with just one simple step and then build and then build and then build the challenges of him. So he would just, the idea is that you're just retraining the brain to go to a place that is calm and feel what that feels like and know that sort of becomes your default mindset as opposed to the place of anxiety. And so he would, we would have him lay on a towel and that was his place. And I would, walk away one step and come back. And as long as he stayed laying and relaxed, I would just say, good, calm boy. And then I'd give him a treat. And then I'd turn around and maybe take 2 steps away and then come back. So the protocol lists steps, 1 through, I don't know, remember it's like 30 something maybe. And, it starts culminating in, you go outside, you knock on the door, you open the door, you leave the room, everything that becomes a higher level of challenge. And you just build up that strength. And then assuming they do well there, then maybe you try it in the yard outside, or take them to work with you and do it there too. So it was long, and literally for 3 months, that is how I fed him his food, 1 piece of kibble at a time. Good, calm boy, And at the beginning, it's 7, maybe you get through 1 step or 2 steps, and then towards the end, you're working from 1 all the way through 25 to 30, all in the same training session.
I mean, how badly was your patience tested?
I was a good, calm girl. I didn't know any better. I didn't know. Listen, I have fostered, I'm glad I did it. And I had no idea at the time what a sort of extreme case Dexter was. I have fostered dozens of dogs, and he still is the sort of weirdest, most unusual dog that I've ever had in my home. And he just so happened to be the first dog I ever adopted.
Yeah.
What's the luck?
Yeah, we've fostered definitely what you would call reactive dogs. I don't know if, we've had some pretty extreme dogs, but what your case is with Dexter, boy, that just takes the cake to me.
Well, and to be honest, I think that because he was my only dog, it was easier to do the training. As you know, when you have multiple dogs in your home, it's very hard, especially if you're doing treat-based training. You got to leave, go somewhere else, lock somebody out of the room. It becomes a lot more difficult. But when you just have one, you got to feed them anyway, But I adopted him in April, and it was literally at a New Year's Eve gathering at my friend's house where the first time I saw it click for him. And I thought, oh, there it is. And so what is that, 8 months?
Sure.
So, yeah. And and as we know, a lot of dogs take more than 8 months to come around. So it wasn't that big of a deal, but sometimes as an owner, as a trainer, you just need to see that click. You need to see them get it. And then you get the confidence that you can move forward.
So if someone were to look into this, what were the most valuable resources that you found?
Well, I was working with a trainer, and she's the one that recommended it. So, ironically, when I adopted Dexter, the very first thing I did was sign up for a training class, and I found the trainer through my vet. She recommended her, and it went great. He did great with basic obedience training. He was wonderful, and he was a hit, And then it was about a month later that he started flipping out. And so I called my trainer and said, can you come over and just see what I'm seeing and tell me, like, what's going on? And she came over and she said, wow, that is not the same dog. And so we worked together with the vet. He was on alprazolam, the Xanax, for a short while as well, a very low dose, but we tried to focus on that, some tips and techniques for walking him, including a gentle leader, and then she recommended the relaxation protocol. And I downloaded the program, put it on my iPad or my iPod, and put my earbuds in and just went to town.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. I'm sure that must at the time must have been a kind of a traumatic struggle, I would imagine.
Yeah, it was. It was. But at the same time, I didn't know that was an extreme case because I didn't have a frame of reference, and I'm really stubborn, I guess. And,
Right.
I said, I made this commitment to I had a bit of a freak out. At one point I said, if this isn't going to work, I may not be able to do this. Maybe I made a mistake in getting a dog, but it worked, and he's still a little bit odd, when we have our big gatherings and everybody gets together with all their dogs, he doesn't come. He's just he just doesn't like strangers that much. But if it's a small group and I have him on leash, we can manage him,
You did mention that you have at least one other dog.
Owen. Oh, he's my little soulmate. It's wonderful.
So tell us a little bit more about him. What makes him special to you?
Well, Owen is, I guess technically you'd call him my first foster failure, although I always knew when I started fostering at one point I would adopt a dog. And I actually really tried very hard to find him a home. And he was adopted and ended up coming back because he had been destructive. And there's much more to it. But ultimately, the big thing was when he came back, she cut off all his furnishings, which, are his beautiful hair. And he looked awful. I'll got to be honest. No. He looked terrible. And so all his pretty hair was gone and his beautiful tail, everything. He just looked honestly, like a dog that maybe had mange or something. And so for 3 months, I put these pictures of him on the page. I had videos I shared. He had a best personality, not one application. And after a few months, I was like, seriously, this dog is perfect. So I just said, if nobody else wants him, I'm not going to pretend anymore. Let's just, and he played great with Dexter. They had so much fun together. And he's just great. He's really smart. He's just so loving. If he could talk, he would tell every person he meets that he's starving to death and would they please feed him. And so, he's a bit of a drama queen. He is big for the breed. He's an excellent hugger. He came in as a group of 5 dogs that were dumped in an overnight bin at a shelter in rural North Carolina. People could just drop a dog in one of those bins, and it can be a little dog, a big dog, any breed, doesn't matter. Just stick them in their box, and they find him in the morning. And I still remember the first time I picked him up and held him. He just turned around and hugged me back. And he's a great, great dog. And, the interesting thing is that the largest group we ever took in was 17 dogs at one time that became 23 a week later when Emma had a litter of 6 puppies.
Oh, boy.
And the shelter that Owen came from, actually, a few years later, were contacted about a very large group that was in need. And when we went to get them, we kind of had a suspicion that it was the same person who had dumped Owen and his little friends at the shelter. But, we weren't 100% sure until we got there, and then we could tell as soon as we saw them, we knew. One of the things about the Chinese Crested dogs is, in particular, that I think is different from a lot of other breeds is that within the range of the breed, they can look a lot of different ways. They come in a lot of different colors, a lot of different sizes, different body shapes. And so, unlike, I'm sure golden retriever people would disagree with me, but when I see a group of them, I can't really tell them apart. With these breeds, I can look at a dog and I instantly know which dog it was and what his name was, because to me, they all look very, very different. And so anyway, this group, you can just tell by looking at them. Some of them look just like my Owen. And so I've always had a special affinity for that group. And I imagine with the puppies that came through, one of them has the best name ever for a hairless dog, which is Neil Patrick Hairless. And I can tell that Neil is related to Owen because they look just like each other and they have such a similar personality. So, that's another thing that happens with our rescue a lot, just as a side note, is we get dogs that are related to each other all the time. We can tell they came through the same shelter, they look alike, and a lot of those people who adopt the dogs, all 6 of Emma's puppies, they all know each other, and they've even gotten together and had the dogs play together. And they live literally, one lives in Washington State, one's in Florida. So that's a big deal.
All right.
Yeah.
So the source of the dogs, I mean, is it your theory of what some kind of puppy mill or what was the source?
For that particular one, yeah, I think it was more like a hoarder breeder situation. I'll give them credit. Those dogs had some of the best temperaments, best personalities. I'm sure they were neglected. I'm sure they didn't receive adequate vet care. You can't when you own that many dogs and they live in a double wide trailer. But they were wonderful dogs, great temperaments, only a couple that really had any behavioral issues of note, and otherwise just a breeze to place. We placed several of them were adopted by people who'd adopted from us before. We had we made pretty big of a fuss of bringing 17 dogs in at one time. And people said, if you need somebody, we're here. We'll adopt another one. So I think the longest any of them took was maybe late fall, and they came in the summer.
Okay. What's the farthest you've had to transport a dog, and how do you do it?
Oh, well, a dog coming in, as far as transporting, I would say it's oftentimes for a larger group. We'll do a road trip of up to, maybe like 12 hours each way. I've had people, I live in Greenville. I had an adopter drive down from Ontario, from Toronto, which is 18 hours
no
to
kidding.
adopt. Yeah, that was for Chili Peppers. He's an American Hairless Terrier. They're very rare breeds. I had an AHT go to Ohio, go up to Minnesota. So yeah, for certain breeds, people will travel a really far away. Sometimes they'll fly. We've had dogs adopted and they'll fly in cabin up to, we have dogs in Washington State and Oregon and Colorado and Idaho, But most of the dogs that we have, we sort of stay within the East Coast, and we have a network of people. If we can, we'll, train, we'll railroad them to where we need them to go. But sometimes we have to say no to a dog because we just don't have the means to reach where they're located, and then we'll refer them to another rescue.
Yeah. In about the roughly 6-7 years that Balda's Beautiful has been in existence, how many dogs approximately have you adopted out?
A little over 600, I think. We average about 100 a year. Yeah.
That to me is incredible. An all foster-based organization with, sounds like you have some geographic challenges in some ways, right? Just because of all the transporting issues.
Sure, yeah, but in a lot of ways, that's what makes us stronger. Because once we are able to put them out to foster homes in different parts of the country, then people who are interested in adopting don't have to come to South Carolina, to get one of the dogs. We have people in upstate New York, we have people in Atlanta, we have people in Baltimore, Delaware. So, and that's been a huge asset, and that helps with transport as well, because on most of the transports, we can have volunteers and fosters involved. They only have to drive, 2, maybe 4 hours. And I think most of our volunteers, we've all done the 8-hour trips, but only a handful of the people are up at that 16-hour. Those are our road warriors.
All right. Incredible organization. We're talking to Ellen Westkaemper of Balda's Beautiful Dog Rescue. Ellen, you know what I'm going to ask you next. You got to tell us a little bit about Nathan the dog.
Nathan, he's just the best. So, Dancing Nathan is a little bit of a viral sensation, so you can find him easily on the internet as well. But Nathan is a great example of why we really celebrate rescue on so many levels. He is a hairless Chinese Crested dog. He is about 10 years old now. When he came to our rescue, he was 6, and he had already been in 6 different foster homes and adoptive homes and was just consistently returned every single time. And he was actually fostered with us for a while without having a lot of success. And sometimes we will move a dog to a different foster home if we're having trouble getting them to the place where they're really ready to be adopted. And he was very reactive to men, very reactive to strangers. He would bite. He would, he just had a lot of issues. And so one of our members, Tina Hicks, who's she's our graphic designer and photographer as well. She decided to foster, and they offered to foster Nathan, and he just did very, very well with her. There was a point where he was adopted actually and returned again. And in that case, it was interesting. It was not because of a behavior, but it was because the adopter just sort of realized she wasn't ready for the commitment of a dog the way she thought she was. He came back to Tina and she said, with all this effort, he does so well here, and I think I'd like him to just stay. And so she adopted him. And then one night, 6 months later, she sent me this video in the middle of the night. She's like, look at what Nathan's doing. So he'll stand up in the chair and just scratch his back against the chair, and it's hysterically funny. And so now it's a habit he knows that she likes, and she can do it as a trick. She can just say, Nathan, wiggle it, and he'll dance, and he'll get a treat afterwards. And so he's very funny when he dances in his green chair. So we have our little fans and people who love Nathan, and everybody would say, they would post on Facebook, you should share it with the Ellen Show. And we'd say, we've tried. And then all of a sudden one day somebody posts on our Facebook wall, I just saw Nathan on the Ellen show. And we were like, wow. And then we had that experience that happens when a video goes viral, which was just wild. I mean, our email was blowing up. We had requests from all kinds of TV shows, Good Morning America and the Today Show and Inside Edition and The View. And I mean, everybody. And it was everywhere. For a few weeks, it was all over the internet. It was very, very exciting for us.
So how did you end up sort of handling that? I mean, what ended up being the best outcome from all that attention?
Well, it was definitely a learning curve for us because media is very interesting, media requests and things. But I would say Tina, as his owner, has learned a lot, and she actually had to get like an agent to manage requests and things like along those lines, which has been very helpful. But I would say for the rescue in our organization, what ended up happening was that if you were a person that lived in this country that had a Chinese Crested or any other hairless dog, and you had never heard of our rescue, you found out about us. So our Facebook page went, it's not crazy huge, but it's good. We went from, I think 4,500 followers to over 20,000. And that all happened within about a month. Our store sales doubled. We do have a store that we use because these dogs need clothes. That's one of the things is that it's not just a fashion statement. They really need clothes for protection from the elements. And so people who had those dogs found our store and would shop at our store, which is great. Our network of support just grew. And so we place dogs a good bit faster now. When we list a dog, we get applications right away. People who are looking, they know we're there, and they find us pretty easily. And so Nathan has had a few different pops of press coverage throughout. My favorite lately is Tina's mom, Grandma Tilly, plays the accordion. So if you haven't seen that, you need to. So when she comes and stays with Tina for a while, she'll videotape Tilly playing the accordion, and Nathan will dance. So it could be a polka or Christmas music, you never know, but it's hysterically funny, and that has also gotten a good bit of attention and coverage. And so every time that happens, we get another little pop. Yeah. And that's wonderful for us.
I will say the accordion videos are terrific. I would just
have seen.
Yeah, I would just say just watching Nathan, and of course it's not just the dance. I mean, the funky dance move is amazing, the hip action and all that, but it's the hair. I mean, it's that little poof of hair that keeps moving around. That's the best part about it. So,
and he looks like Andy Warhol or something. It's crazy.
Right.
And what I can share with you as well is, the story started with all his behavior challenges and all the problems that we had. His progress that he has made with Tina is phenomenal. Tina and I actually flew out together to LA a year ago, from right now to be on the World Dog Awards, which was on like the CW. So that was a trip. And he won the award for most entertaining, or I don't even remember what award he won, but it was very exciting. But we flew on an airplane. We took his partner in crime, Hot Mess Gilligan, which everyone loves as well. And he let strangers pet him, hold him. He has no issues really anymore with strangers, and he can be off leash at our parties with dozens of people. And if I say, Nathan, come here, he'll come over and he'll let me pet him. I mean, it's incredible. And I think that is a good, as we say, there's a lid for every pot, and right. Nathan and Tina needed to be together for him to really reach his potential. And so the videos are fun. It's a hoot to see him dance and get the attention. But above everything else, we are just overjoyed at how well Nathan has done to make all this possible.
Well, as they say, a star is born, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, Ellen, as we wrap up, tell us, how do we find you? How do we find your shopping site? And by the way, I think your shopping site is excellent. I mean, you guys just have a great sense of humor, but definitely stuff that you could definitely see yourself wearing. It's not just a gimmick.
Yes. Yeah. Like our I Like 'em Naked shirts and things like that, which are fun. Yeah. Our website is baldestbeautifuldogrescue.org. So we're pretty easy to find. We have a Facebook page as well. We're on Instagram. So we Yeah, and we do have some amazing volunteers who sew for us. That's probably an area where if anyone out there wants to start sewing dog clothes, there's patterns for it, and we always need more people for that. Our sales in our store are a huge part of what helps us operate because, as you know, it's very expensive, and no rescue can do what we do on just adoption fees alone. So we have to be very creative about other strategies. And so there's a link on our rescue page to the store. That's the easiest way to find it. It's just on our homepage. It links you right to the store.
All right. Well, thank you. baldisbeautifuldogrescue.org.
Yes.
Last question, Ellen, which is, if you had a magic wand, what would you do to change the state of animal rescue?
I'm going to go really old school traditional, and I really think I just wish everyone would do the things that we need to do for their pets to keep them safe and healthy. So spay and neuter, microchip them, and for us, particularly in the South, it's the heartworm medication, the heartworm preventative, that are so inexpensive and so important to keeping dogs healthy. And so if the general public did all of those things, it would make our job a whole lot easier.
We're speaking to Ellen Westkaemper of Bald is Beautiful Dog Rescue. Ellen, we'll give you the last word. Anything else that you'd like to share?
I would just like to give a shout out to our whole team because I just happen to be a person who, listens to your podcast, and I love it. And I share it I'm the foster home coordinator, and I share it with our team when especially the Ask Her Eat training ones have been great. But we are a network of people that offer a tremendous variety of skills to our organization. We are not completely homogenous of thought. We have diverse viewpoints and diverse experiences. And I think all of those things are what make us such a strong team, because we have a lot of respect and love for each other. We are like a big family. We get together twice a year. It's the closest I can say it's like a family reunion, and we'll have people who've adopted from us that come, and people who foster and volunteer. We stay in touch with people long after a dog is adopted. We really do consider ourselves a family. And so I have to just sort of give that respect to our team for keeping it positive and keeping it all about the dogs. That's our number one priority, is dogs first.
We want to say thank you to Ellen Westkaemper for sharing her story. If you'd like to learn more about Bald is Beautiful Dog Rescue and check out some videos of Dancing Nathan, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/102. If you'd like to listen to more episodes of Paw Print, you can go to your favorite podcast app like iTunes, SoundCloud, or Overcast. Type in Paw Print Animal Rescue and hit subscribe to get the latest episodes immediately. If you'd like to meet me or Nancy on social media, you can find us on Instagram. You can also find us on Facebook or Twitter. Look for This Is Paw Print, all one word. We just want to say thank you to all of you for sharing Paw Print with your friends and family. There's no way we could have gotten to 102 episodes without your amazing support. So thank you. Join us next week when we talk to Rupert Fawcett, the man behind the wildly popular Off the Leash dog cartoons and On the Prowl cat cartoons. Remember, you spread a positive message of love and peace by saving an animal. Have a great day, everyone, and see you next time on Paw Print.
Paw Print is a production of EVER Education.
You can't handle the truth.